welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. Tonight with me is Miss Rainey Love. She's finally back again this month. And tonight we're going to be talking about the tarot and exactly how it works both in person and the differences betwine mine and hers, even though I taught her, and some different things there. But we got some hot topics, and we actually have a follow-up hot topic. Rainey, you want to lead in on this one? Because I think it was me and you. No, it was me and Sophia that was talking about them.
Which one? Well, are you
the standoff
talking about
in Oregon?
Yes, I don't think in fact, hello everybody. Wonderful to be back. Happy New Year to everyone, by the way. Yes, here they just had a standoff with the militia group in Oregon, which I'm sure most of you have heard about in the news. They took over some government property, and they had a standoff today where there was 8 arrested, actually, and there was one man who was shot. Now, there's some controversy, over, him being shot. Some say that his hands were raised. Of course, all the facts don't go out there. For some of you who may not remember, this group actually came together to stand up for 2 other men who were being sent to prison because of some fines that they had not paid, because they had set a forest fire that went onto government land. Of course, these 2 gentlemen are not really supporting the militia group, but they were coming in standing, feeling that they were standing up for them and their rights as landowners. So now we have a big showdown.
Well, we had a small showdown. Small showdown compared to some of the showdowns we've had before. This wasn't Ruby Ridge. This wasn't Waco. This was a traffic stop.
I agree.
Okay. And this militia was not prepared to do what they did. I don't know who was planning it, but apparently they were able to come and go as they pleased. It's just like, I'm moving into your apartment, hand me the key, basically. I really was not happy with them, and I'm still not happy with this group. I support the Second Amendment and all that. But if you remember, Rainey, and you're of the generation, so you should remember, back when the hippies took over Alcatraz in the 70s, and they were taking over these university buildings.
Yeah, I was a little baby, so I didn't really. I wasn't really growing up in an age where I really had a cognitive understanding of what was really going on, I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, I, however, have a cognitive understanding of it because of some of the influences in my life and a lot of the history studies. But these people had planned out their takeover, and it wasn't like, I'm going to go down and I'll be at the office from 9 to 5, and then I'm going to go get a hotel room, and then I'll be back tomorrow to protest. It wasn't, send us food because we don't have any food. This group, I don't know who planned them, but they didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Yeah, you didn't really get a lot of information, as far as what was going on. I don't think that they portrayed that information, and I don't really see that we even heard a lot from the news as to what was going on. So I think
which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think for a certain period of time, nobody really knew what they stated why they were there. They were defending these 2 gentlemen, and they were standing by them, but they really weren't giving a whole lot of information as to, what their outcome was. They were just there.
Right. They were just there, and we want him free. We want them freed. We want our, the land. We're sending up for land rights. But they really wasn't doing anything important. I think they wanted more news coverage than what they got.
Probably. I would suspect so. There's a lot of people who are very, very frustrated, with things that are happening with government, and, especially a lot of people who, have, a lot of people in the farming industry, as we know about, out in Nevada. But there's a lot of frustration, and what do you do?
Right.
Where are your rights? What do you do? And I think a lot of these people are frustrated, and they don't know what to do. How to handle it? Well, there's probably different ways to handle it, obviously.
There is obviously different ways to handle it. There's different ways to stay focused on stuff. There's different legal channels to take. But at the same time, you have to realize that, yes, we're frustrated, but we got to choose some better politicians. I hate to get political, but the next two hot topics here just drive me nuts. If I lived in these states, I would be, issuing a termination letter to these people. The first one being is Flint, Michigan, and their water situation. I mean, come on, 2 years people were getting poisoned, and yet the governor doesn't pay attention to any of this.
Well, it's my understanding is that, and I think this is a very, very sad situation. We live in America. People should not be having to deal with dirty water, and they're going to have some consequences, unfortunately, with regard to people's health and certainly children's health coming up because of this decision. I know originally that they had stated, it had been stated, on the news that this decision had been made, although it was a very poor decision with respect to, the money and financial issues that were trying to be worked out in the state of Michigan. However, it wasn't such a smart idea. Also understand that there were a lot of people who even 2 years ago were being talked to about this and the issue of water. Nothing wasn't being done. I mean, it was from the government to the EPA. There were other parties involved. Now they've got a real mess to clean up because, first of all, now all of these pipes and the water system has been, damaged.
Totally contaminated.
Because of the water that's been put in there. So this is going to be, a lot of money that's going to have to be taken care of. Not to say the least of probably the medical, injuries and the cost of that to the people of Michigan. Plus, also, they were still asking them that they were demanding that they paid their water bill.
Yeah.
They paid for the
water. They were demanding to pay a water bill that they couldn't drink. Really? Well, the same thing happened when we had that issue here in Charleston. I think it's been 2 years now since we had that water contamination in Charleston. Everybody's bill went up across state after this issue. And it was like, hello, we aren't the government that said put it there. We aren't the water resource company that said do this. It was totally ridiculous.
Yeah,
in
that
general.
seemed to kind of go quiet pretty quickly. But you living near that area, how long did it really take to get that settled?
It took them, I think, up to a month. And I have friends, I have business relations down there, and some of them are still not drinking the water. And it took them days of cleaning and flushing and reflushing the water systems to get it even usable for basic household uses.
It's like, they were even saying in Flint, Michigan, they were saying for people not to bathe their children or their babies in this water. And then you have to think about not just not drinking the water, but, bathing. This can be awful, this can do damage to their body internally and externally.
Right. But, what I've seen on TV, I wouldn't even wash, my car outside in it. And, that's just me, because it just looked nasty. It looked awful. I think it's terrible. I think that, this is just more evidence of the ecostructure falling apart. Right. And then the other hit list that just, I would love to issue another termination letter for was Governor Chris Christie. He's got a flood in his state. Where is he? In New Hampshire. When they asked about, why aren't you, doing the job you're being paid to do, his response was, what do you expect me to do, take a mop down there and start mopping?
I have to be honest, I didn't hear this, so, but how bad was the damage with the flooding?
Some people are comparing it to as much as Sandy. From the images I've seen, while it hasn't destroyed buildings, all those buildings that were rebuilt now have to have the flooring ripped out, now have to have new flooring, new wall coverings put in. So it didn't wash away anything. It just ruined everything that they had just put back together. I mean, because Sandy hit 2 years ago. The flooding looked very immense, and it was in multiple cities and multiple counties. But Christie tried to downsize it, say, oh, it was only one county out of 22. So are you not the governor of that county? And he's still not even making plans to go visit those people, see what aid they need. You know, and if that's how he's going to treat, you know, a state, and, you know, I have some clients that are from Jersey, and they've all said, he's terrible. He was terrible for Jersey. He's still going to be terrible. And, you know, that just shows his attitude. And then, like, the next day he comes out and goes, well, I kind of ran my mouth too much. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just didn't think it would make a news bite. Now it's made a news bite, so you want to go and hide about it.
Well, Christie is known for being very, very blunt.
Right.
We all know that.
Right.
There's never been a doubt about that. You know, the thing of it is it makes me think about, you know, the infrastructure. You know, and we're really dealing with a lot of infrastructure problems within our country right now. You know, how do you handle these things? Because you know what? We're still going to have ongoing problems with respect to flooding and natural disasters that come about during the winter time, during hurricane, tornado season time. You know, the infrastructure being set up appropriately. And granted, the people who were down there still were rebuilding from, you know, Hurricane Sandy. You know, so obviously they hadn't had everything completely completed. But, you know, what are they?
Not completely back to the way it was, but it was new construction now. You know, why wasn't Christie dealing with this? He's had one flood in that area before. Hello? A levee, wall, you know, take some of those dollars you get off of your toll lines, put it to protecting your state, or at least be there. But what was funny is it was somebody from New Jersey, I don't know, can't quote the name off the top of my head, set up a GoFundMe account because apparently Mr. Christie, you know, since they're from Trenton, New Jersey, I believe, they think that, fine, you want to bring mops down here, we'll buy you mops. So they have a GoFundMe page out there to send mops to Governor Chris Christie to get him to do his job.
Well, I don't think mops are going to do it, but I understand the point, you know.
Yeah, the point is, you know, do your job. You know, and I think, I'm sorry, I really think that if you are in a governmental office, you should not be allowed to run for another one at the same time.
Well, don't you think that would pretty much eliminate everybody, though?
I think it would pretty much give us some fresh air.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, you know, even our president, he was in a senatorial position. You know, you have to run. A lot of these people are in government offices. Do I think that you still need to hold up your responsibilities to if you're a governor in a state? Absolutely, absolutely.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
And do your job that you're being paid to do. That's what bugs me is every day he's campaigning and not taking care of governor business in New Jersey. And, you know, I feel the same way about our current governor. If he starts campaigning, that day should be took out of his paycheck. Wonder how much money we'd save that way.
You know, I don't know.
Maybe enough to build a new water system?
Could be. Could be. It's going to be really interesting to find out what they do with the Flint situation.
Very much so.
It's going to take a long time to get that fixed.
Well, you know, you've got to now replumb houses because this has now gone into homes.
Right.
And most of them have water filtration systems. Dear God, that's just storage of these chemicals.
Right.
You know, so a very, very big mess. All right. So tonight we're talking about the tarot and how it works. For those that don't know, the tarot is a 78 card to 79 to 80 card system of cards that most readers use. It's one of the first tools I teach any of my students is how to use the tarot. The reason being for that is the tarot itself is the base system to tapping into everything. And there's different personal views on how it works. Me, I think once you tune into the energy and you're shuffling the cards themselves will move into position to where they should be. And I've done this a number of times. Took a deck out of the box, peeled the cellophane off, shuffled it, and shuffled it and done a reading. Some people shuffle 7 times. Some people shuffle 3. Some people shuffle 5. For me, I shuffle until it feels comfortable. If I'm doing the shuffling
and that's how
for
you taught me to do it. That's how you taught me to do it. I shuffle until it just feels free-flowing, and you're just connecting with the energy.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I tell my clients, is to shuffle until it feels comfortable. Or it feels so stiff it won't move. Because if you keep going, I'll keep shuffling, they will get stiff as a board and won't move because they're in place and ready to go.
Right.
Okay. And each card has its own meaning. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of books about tarot meanings. All well and good. All a great idea to get you an idea of what a card means. Because some of the cards are kind of hard to look at and go, I get what this one means. But after you get that concept of what the card means, I personally think you should put away the book. Don't you, Rainey?
Absolutely. In fact, when I'm using the cards, basically, the general meaning, with respect to me when I was going through your lessons, when you were teaching me to go through it, you learned the general meanings of the cards. But when you're going and doing a reading and you're going through the cards, I'm connecting with the meaning and how it relates to the person that I'm working with and the energy and the question.
Right.
And, for example, say if you pull the death card, people are like, death. Well, not necessarily.
No, not necessarily at all.
Yeah. Now, if I'm doing a reading on somebody, and the question relates to, what are some of the, reasons or causes to a particular situation, the death card may connect us to someone having lost somebody, but intuitively, we're going to pick up that information.
Right. Or
and
it may not even deal with
we're going to
losing
pick up
somebody.
Else.
Excuse me. It may not even have to do with losing somebody. Death has many different forms. It could be the change, a massive change that's quick. It can even come up with having ego and going, I ain't doing that. And going on, yeah, you will. Especially if you're reading an older Rider-Waite deck that actually shows death walking over top of the Pope. That's about conquering your fears, conquering your obligations.
Right. It can also mean leaving one place in life and going into another place.
Right.
Transition. And I think many of us have experienced that at different times in our life where we've literally, it's like changing personhood. You know how they talk about that change every 9 years?
Very much so.
So it can mean a lot of things. And sometimes people get stuck in, the literal, this is the card, like the love card, They automatically assume that it's love.
Right.
It can be
a
love
partnership.
Triangle.
It could be a love triangle. It could be a partnership. The lover's card in itself, with the classical meaning, it means lovers. But there is so much more going on with it. Just overall, from, it depends on where it hits in the reading, how the reader itself reads the card. Because, one of the battles I have with is the Three of Swords. Everyone screams, it's heartbreak, it's tearing apart. No, not really. Depending on where it hits, especially if it hits in business or in family matters, it could be the Three Musketeers. Because originally, before 1920, there wasn't even a heart on the card. It was just the swords crossing each other.
Right. Right.
And that's the way it is in the soft deck, is three swords crossing each other. And it normally means pulling together. So, it depends on the reader. A lot of times it depends on the reader and their personal style.
Right. But the one thing that I have found, and I know this is true for you, Aisha, and probably most people who are readers, is you're connecting with the energy of the situation.
Right.
And the cards
very much so.
are coming out according to the situation. And really, the cards are there to give us guidance, to give us insight,
and to
about
give you a springboard to where you're going, because all they are is something to entertain the right brain, to activate the left brain. That's why I always tell people that begin reading. Go get the most beautiful deck you like seeing. Make sure that all the cards are pictures. Because there's decks out there that are like the classic Italian decks that just have like three swords and a design of pence and a design of coins. Those aren't the ones that'll read for somebody coming in new. Those are ones for more like me that goes, oh yeah, it's the nine of pence. Here we go. We're building up on money. But you need to have those graphic representations, and each deck will read differently. I've got like 3 or 4 decks, and the same card will mean something different in each deck because of the artwork, because of the symbolism put into it.
Oh, no, that's very interesting. Now, I know we're talking about tarot, but one of the skills that you taught me that I just love to use is the playing deck cards.
I love the playing deck cards. Cartonomy, great for timing, or doing full readings with it. But that was a cut down to the tarot, because when it was easier to get those 50 to 54 cards to read with. Why? Because it didn't used to be that you could walk into Barnes & Nobles and go, I'd like the Dragon Tarot deck, please, and I'll take this tarot deck. They weren't anywhere to be found. You had to go to big cities. So you could easily take a deck of playing cards and transpose them because they interconnect. Hearts go with cups. Clubs go with wands. Diamonds go with pentacles. So it's crossed and able to pull together. Swords and spades, not that hard to do. And then you're able to cross meaning ties them, and those can turn up to be very interesting.
Well, what I enjoy about those, and I enjoy about the tarot, is when you connect with the energy. It really doesn't matter whether you're using a deck of cards or you're using a tarot. Like I said, I use both, but I like the deck of cards. I enjoy it.
Right.
You really do get a lot of accurate information there. But again, it comes back to that ever-ending question: energy.
Very much.
And none of us really completely understand how does that connect.
Well, it's a vibrational thing, because that's where the reader comes in. In person, it's very easy to connect with that energy, because you take the deck, most people will hand them to the client and say shuffle. I say shuffle up till it feels comfortable. Others go shuffle 7, shuffle 14, shuffle your birth year. It really depends on their style. There's not a set number of, you have to shuffle 3 times with your left hand, 1 time with your right hand, and then divide it out into 6 piles evenly. It ain't a math test. However, if the reader is that type of person, they're going to lay it out for you. This is how you handle my cards. This is how you do I do my reading, and they should. For me, I'm very shotgun style reading, shotgun style personality. So it's like, here it is. Choose your deck, shuffle it up till it feels comfortable. I don't have to have that control of, don't bend my cards. So know your reader, know their style. Some are relaxed, some are anal retentive, some are anal retentive in life, but relaxed about the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And,
now,
you know...
here's the question. Oh, go ahead.
You know, and then if you're on the phone, you know, that's why the reader, you know, hi, how are you? What's your name? What's your birth date? And that gives them time to connect into that energy. You know, sometimes we have to go through the, you know, get the birth date. You know, from us, we have to get the birth date because we broadcast out of West Virginia, and it requires us to make sure you're over the age of 18. Other places, you know, not so much so, or they'll still get the birth date so that, you know, they can combine that number into whatever they need to shuffle into. I know one reader, and like, she does it by numerology. So if your name starts with an A, she shuffled once. If your name starts with an I, she may shuffle 9 times. And that's how she does it, which is interesting.
Oh.
But, you know, she overlays a lot of her knowledge, which a lot of readers do, because with the tarot, it fits into a lot of things. There's tarot, there's astrology symbolism. There's symbolism in general in the cards because they're filled with symbolism. I've even been told that the tarot has Bible verses inscribed into it, and I've seen those decks, and they're quite interesting. But originally, it was just it was hand copied from one person to another, creating different symbols.
Right. Now, you and I both use this with our clients. When you're dealing with a client, and they want to know a question, do you feel that it's easier to go with a simple question or a more complicated question?
I go with either. For me, I don't go, I do say, it depends on what they want. If they want to spend 3 hours on the phone and pay $4.99 a minute, which, some networks are that way, we can do a general reading. I can go skirting around why Doug isn't calling you and his issues from childhood and how this relates to his mother, and, we'll dance around the bush all the way around.
Right.
Or if they, come back and say, why isn't Doug calling me because he seems to be holding back? Then I can go, yeah, he's having some issues. He's dealing with this, and I'm great. But, we do this on the show. We always go, give us your most specific question. It's not that we're looking for a yes-no answer. What we're looking for is so we can get in there and go,
right.
Here's what your information is. You're on page 13 of your book of life. And, Doug is a pain. Well, it says refer back to page 4, and we can do that. And the tarot does that. It gives you that foundation to jump there, but it also gives you the foundation to move forward with things.
Yeah, and see, that's one reason, why we as readers will say, what area would you like to focus in, and what are your questions? Because I know you don't, for me, I don't feel you want to waste your time going with the general. You want to get down to what are your concerns. So let's go there.
Yeah, because, if you want a general, you want to go see someone face-to-face because they can be fairly expensive general readings on the per-minute rate system. I've never done generals on a per-minute rate system. I tell them I don't do them because it does. An hour appointment is a guaranteed general reading for me. I'll guarantee you're going to get a full general if everything's all piling up on you. But that's an hour. That's almost $150, and that's a high rate, in my opinion.
Right.
So, but, specific questions, we can get in there. It's almost like we can get in there, we see exactly where you're at, and the tarot reflects that. And a lot of times, I don't talk about the cards at all. Most people are like, are you doing the tarot? I'm like, yeah, I just don't name drop which card's coming up because, it's unimportant to me. Isn't it to you,
Actually,
Amy?
I'm the same way. Just whatever I'm getting, I'm putting out there.
Mm-hmm. All right, then, darling. Let's go to break, and we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Maybe if it'll play.
I know, it's just my music.
It's coming. It's just being slow about it. There it is. There it is.
And you'll find us at www.themagichappens.com, your free online magazine.
Are you at a crossroads in your life? Or are you feeling stuck and not sure where to turn? We can help. Visit our website at psychic.biz from your computer, smartphone, or tablet, where you can get accurate readings and insight by speaking with any one of our tested advisors. We offer live chat, video sessions, one-on-one phone calls, and even email readings. We have several gifted psychics, tarot readers, astrologers, and other healers from around the world who are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your initial chat is always free, and our psychics do offer special prices and low per-minute rates. Visit us today at psychic.biz and get the guidance you need today for your tomorrow.
You're listening to The Magic Happens Radio Network, sponsored by The Magic Happens magazine. You'll find us at www.themagichappens.com.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Do you have burning questions you need answered? We all do. Visit our website at psychic.biz, where you can find accurate psychics, tarot readers, and astrologers from around the world who are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can have your questions answered anonymously and right from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. The introductory chat is always free, and we offer low per-minute rates and special promotions. Our online psychics offer helpful, practical guidance into what matters most to you. Visit us today at psychic.biz.
And you'll find us at www.themagichappens.com, your free online magazine.
And And welcome back from your break. That's our new break, our new commercial break thing. Yes, we're part of the Magic Happens Network. We also have the lovely sponsor of Psychic.biz, which is an awesome, awesome site. You guys should check it out. They treat our readers great, and they treat us great. So what do you think, Rainey?
And it's a wonderful family support system.
It is. And, it's really good. So, we've got some callers, but, if you want to call in, you can call in at 914-338-1976. And let's take the ones we got in line, Rainey. Get those cards all warmed up, honey child.
Absolutely, honey child.
All right, our first one is 347.
347, good evening. What is your name and birth date?
Hello? 347. Hello. 347. All right, we're going to put them on hold for a minute, and I am going to refresh the studio. Let's see if it's going to work, because it was pausing up a minute ago. Okay. Okay, let's try it now. 347. 347, are you with us? Nope. Okay. We'll put you back in the listening queue. And let's go on to 575. 575?
Yes. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
What is your name and birth date, hon?
It's Deanna. It is October 21st, 1981.
And how can we help you,
Deanna.
Deanna?
If you can give me some insight on, I own a business, and also I'm trying to get another job. Am I going to get the job? And in my house, I'm trying to get I can't even speak. My husband and I are trying to build a house, and I want to, have money because my business is kind of slow a little bit. So I want to get a job, and I have an interview. So I want to see if everything will work out.
I feel you will get the job, and you're able to balance the business at the same time. I feel like you're able to get the house built, but it looks to me like it's a little stressful.
Yeah. Not even to say the least. Yeah.
So you want to kind of relax there. But I think that it'll do fine for you, honey.
Okay.
With respect to the house, are you working on that presently, or are you stretching that out for a time period?
It's going to be, the house, we're trying to secure our loan with a good interest rate and everything. So that's the first thing that we're doing in March. But we picked out everything. Everything is done. And after that, they're going to be building. So they said that it'll probably be in like July or something like that when it's finished.
Okay. Yeah. There may be a slight delay there when they actually get it started, so it may take a little bit longer to get it finished, but it'll still be within a reasonable time period there. I still feel like it'll be somewhere around that time period, could be out a month, somewhere in August.
Okay.
But not to stress. It'll be okay. Just understand it's going to take a little patience here. So when you're kind of going, are they ever going to get this done? Yes, they will. It just may take a little bit longer than you would like.
Okay. And my business, will it be okay while I'm going to be working?
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be great while you're working because I feel like you're going to be able to balance both.
Because I need people to come on in, and because some people are leaving, and some people are, and I don't have enough to pay the rent.
Right.
So
I feel like you're going to have others coming in. Yeah. New people coming in, new ideas coming in.
Oh, how soon?
Oh, I'd say probably by the end of February, honey.
Really?
But
I'll be working by then, right?
You'll be working by then, and you'll be managing there.
Okay. Do you see this job being like a long term?
I feel like it is, but I feel like it's able to be movable with you.
What do you mean?
Meaning that whatever you're
flexibility.
doing, flexibility. It's going to be able to be moved. You don't have to just do it there. You may be able to transluce it from one place to another.
Really? Because it's a call center.
Right. A lot of call centers have moved to home work, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That will
Here's
be
the
awesome.
other thing. Even with that experience, if you choose to move away from that job, you could always bring that into another call center job. Type of job, which would be similar to that you could work from home. Here's the other thing. I do feel with the changes coming in, and this comes back to something that Asen mentioned, is, everything being really organized. It's like, you've got time spaces here that have to be very, very organized with respect to the job, with respect to the business, and how things have to be done. You happen to be in that place, that's going to move that energy more like it's conducting like a train, Everything's on track, everything's moving. Where the energy right now with the stresses of the money, okay, that's kind of throwing everything off here. It's not quite moving smoothly.
Right. So
everything coming together is it's going to be busy. It's going to be stressful, but it's going to move more efficiently.
Right. Right. Good. And I'll be able to.
Yeah.
I'll be able to help my husband out a lot with just everything. We're supposed to be like moving out of the home that we're in now, so we can save money and move with my mom. I don't know how that is going to be. That's going to be crazy.
Think about that one, honey.
So that should be interesting.
Yeah, that should be interesting, but think about it before you do it.
Well, I know it would save us a lot of money to help us with everything. So I'm kind of like weighing
lay down responsibilities for everybody.
Right.
I.e., example, because I live in a multi-generational home. There are some people that are in charge of laundry. There are other people that are in charge of kitchen. Break it down, because Mama's used to doing everything. He's used to being the man of the house. You don't want that drama argument going on before you even get your bags unpacked.
I know. I've lived with her briefly, but she loved it. She loved her family being around, but it's just the whole thing of being there that long.
That's why you want to lay it out. Who's responsible for what?
But here's the thing about you. You're very, very good at organization.
Right.
You're very good at taking the reins and being in charge. Now, as you know, you got to respect Mama's space. At the same time, you having that type of personality, you're able to go in and kind of say, okay, here's how we have to go with it. Yeah, you have to do some negotiating with her, obviously, but laying it out and being organized is really important. That, again, comes back even to, the example with the train chugging along, with respect to work and business. That talent of yours, that natural ability of yours, that will work in that situation, but it'll work with the work situation as well.
Okay. And is my husband going to be? Is he going to be okay with staying with my mom?
I feel he is okay once he knows what he's expected to do. That's his problem.
Okay.
If he doesn't know, do I take the trash out or do I bring in the newspaper in the morning? He likes to have parameters.
Right. Okay.
Which, by the way, you're very good at.
Yeah, I can be like, hold on, let's stop right here. We're not going to do this. You know. Right. But, and also, I'm getting my diploma.
Right.
I'm hoping to
finish
that.
Big boost for you.
Really? I'm trying to finish it like within a month.
It'll probably be within less than that.
Really? Well, I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. Okay. Is there anything else I should know about, or with this house being built, or, with the job?
Well, the biggest thing here, and I'm going to emphasize this, and I'm going to pound it into the ground. I want you to sit down and organize every single detail. Organize the job situation, the work situation, the move, okay? Be realistic about the time. Don't plan on July, plan on August. We'll pray for July, okay? Just feel like there's going to be a delay. I want you to sit down and have a plan. Yeah, you share it with everybody. Yeah, you let them have their input. Because you've got to do that. But pretty much, and this goes very well with your husband, by the way. Again, like Ace said, if he knows what the deal is, he'll go along with it.
Okay.
You make sure you take charge. Not
I know.
Just come up with the plan. Here's the plan. Here's the deal.
Okay. All right.
That's going to help you go through this. It's going to test your patience. Excuse me. But I also see an energy coming in that is really going to plow you guys through this, even though there's multiple facets of challenges coming in. It's going to be worth it in the end.
Are you talking about the realtor, Charles?
Well, I'm that. As far as that goes, I see more of the building being the challenge there. That's going to test your patience for sure.
Okay.
That's where just expect it not to be quite July. Go in going, okay, this could take a little longer. That's why maybe you could wait an extra month to move.
Okay. Hopefully I can. Hopefully they will let us do that here. Okay. And then with the one last thing too, with my business, I'm so happy that you did say that some more people are coming in. But with the people that I have there now, I want one girl to take over. And I don't know, the energy that I know, the energy kind of like is funny for some reason. I don't know the reason why. I don't know why she's like kind of feeling a certain way. I don't know. I feel like the energy is like not.
She is a control holic, honey. You give that girl an inch and she'll rename the business.
But the
you got a mousier one there that's a little tiger. She's towards the back. She normally stays towards the back area, whatever that area of the place is. You know, walking in the door. Her work area is towards the back. She would be better for you.
Yeah, I think she has a job already, Akila.
Talk to her about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that me and the girl I'm talking about, Kiki, I think that I don't know what's her problem with me. Like, I feel like she has an issue or...
You're a boss.
Yeah.
She doesn't like a boss. She likes to be the boss. That's why but she's a control boss, meaning that she will literally do everything up to renaming the store.
Right. Because I really wanted to like let it go. I wanted to sell it. But I don't know if she's ready for that. Once I get into
I think that would be shooting yourself in the foot.
Really?
Really. Give this business 6 months and it can take off. But it needs attention, it needs quality workmanship, and it needs to have somebody in there that can entertain and be friendly. And she's not.
Okay. Because I told her already. I was like, are you ready for this? Are you interested in doing this? She was like, yeah, but I was going to buy a house, and now I'm not going to do it this year, and I guess I'll, and I'm like, okay. I was like, I feel like she was like a little unsure.
Well, she's unsure, but she really wants to take over.
Perfect. Are you talking about the mousier one, the more mild one? Or are you talking about the one that you wanted to leave in charge?
The mild. Well, she's the mildier one. Actually, it's only 3 people there. One is about to leave. One has a job, but she comes back and forth. And she, kind of, she's too much. And then the one that I'm talking about, she's mouthy, but she seems as though she just want to tell me off or be better than me or know more than me because she has a degree and all. I don't know.
No, that's the one you don't want in charge.
Right, that's the one you don't want in charge.
You feel like she's going to leave?
I don't feel like she's going to leave. I just think if you give her lead, she'll take it over and rename the whole thing. Redo the whole thing, and it'll be her show only.
She'll undermine you. That's not good for you.
Okay, so keep my business.
Keep your business. Wait, give it 6 months. Give it 6 months to get some new breath into it, because around November is when it started to go shaky. Give it 6 months to get better. And put the one that already supposedly has a job but goes back and forth in charge of managing it. Because she'll listen to you. The other one will not. And you can't have a manager that will not listen to you.
Do you think that they'll be funny? She'll think I was trying to be funny, or will she leave once I say, okay, I want her to be in charge?
I feel like she'll be funny for a little bit, but you got to tell the one that you put in charge, don't take her guff. You're the shop manager. You run the show.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Everything sounds great, except for that November shakiness.
You'll do fine.
But everything sounds great. I just hope everything works out, and
it will.
I want you to, listen to what Aiden's saying. I want you really, really sit down and think about how you want to handle who's managing when you're not there. I want you to still keep control.
Okay.
Because he's bringing up a very good point there with respect to her.
He's right.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I just wasn't like, I thought maybe, no, she won't. I did offer her the whole
baloney.
Bang.
Right.
Baloney, honey. She will in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I offer her now. If she wants to buy it, I'll sell it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm offering her. I asked her, the transition into doing this. But, I would do that, transition to her buying it. But if she can't buy it, then I'm going to just ask the other girl to manage it.
Exactly. And I think that's where you should be at, is having a manager in there when you're not there. This is how I run 7 different businesses. I have managers that deal with just that business. But if I say we are not going to be serving fish anymore, they listen to me.
Right. Okay, but she's not there anyway. She don't be there. Like, I don't even know what to say about her. Like the one that you're talking about. Yeah, do let her be. She's barely there herself.
Well, I feel like that you two can work out a schedule. The reason she's barely there herself is she doesn't feel like she can have any say in it.
She has another job too.
Right, but she can pull it together.
She can pull it together? I believe so.
If you give the opportunity, she will take it. But the other one won't listen to you. You give her the opportunity, and you'll walk in, and the whole place is completely redone with even a new name. It'll be worse than that one takeover show.
I believe it. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, darling. You have a great evening.
It was a pleasure speaking with you tonight.
You too. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Now let's see.
Yay.
Let's see if 347 has gotten themselves together yet. 347, you on the air? 347? I guess we're just being listened to. That's okay. You can call in listening to the show.
That is awesome.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see. We've got some familiar numbers here. Let's pop into this one. She's a frequent flyer here at the coffee shop. She actually has her own title. She's a client, and she's what I call the client corner. Hello, Miss Kathy. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Hi, Rainey.
Hello.
How are you guys tonight?
Good, hon. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I really love learning about the tarot. I really enjoyed that conversation. And I know you don't like getting political, but there's a lot of politicians who just need to go away.
No, they need to have the termination letters sent to them by the constituents. I think if we done more of that, they would be opinionated. They would think before they say, and they would actually do what we hire them to do.
They're not the ones who put themselves in danger. They're not the ones living in that danger. And that's what I always find really interesting, like Love Cano or any of the things that have happened. It might be our police, it might be our military who's in, direct line of fire for everything. But our politicians, if they were living in Flint, Michigan, or they would have been at Love Cano, or, where it was that it was a chemical dumping ground, and they built all those houses there, I guarantee you that stuff would be cleaned up in a heartbeat really fast. And then it's not just that, it's the fact that it's, like Rainey was starting to say, it's not just the people who are drinking that water now or did unknowingly in their kids, but their kids, they're going to be medically challenged, and then those kids have more kids later, when they grow up. God knows what's going to go on. And
the reality is, if we live in America, this should not be happening.
Right.
You're right. If I lived in
Africa.
Rwanda, or I lived even in India, India is a beautiful place, so nobody from any other country, get me wrong. But it's just like in the back country of Australia, there's places all over the world that the water's not drinkable. But not when it's where it's inhabited. And we definitely don't expect that here in the United States ever. And it should have been cleaned up already. And sheriff should have had to send 30,000 gallons of water, clean water to them.
Mm-hmm. The reality is the sad thing is it's not just one person involved in this who ignored this problem.
No.
And I understand in Michigan they have a lot of financial issues they're trying to take care of. However, there's some things that just have to stay stable.
Right.
And
if I was
the health
Michigan,
and safety of
I'd
the
be
people
suing.
is one.
I'd be suing because they knew about this problem well in advance. And the other thing, Asen has to really use those cards with me sometimes. And other times, I don't even hear them shuffle because I know darn good well he already knew the question I was going to ask. He answers it before I can ask it.
Sometimes I even pre-shuffle. We're going to have to cut this one a little short, sweeties. Thank you, Kathy, for calling in. We always love Client Corner, but we're at the end.
Okay,
unfortunately.
Great. You guys have a great
However,
night.
I
Great
loved
show.
your input tonight. That was wonderful.
Yes.
In Psychic Biz, awesome. Okay,
yes.
bye, you guys. Love you.
Great place.
Have a
Call us
wonderful
over
evening.
there.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye.
We're both available. We're both available over there. It's a really great place, and if you use coupon code COFFEE, you get $10 free with a $15 load up. So, Miss Rainey, you won't be with us next time. I think I've got Sophia in, and then we're going to have Rose Knight this month, and then you're going to be back this month. We're going to be talking with the author to the Teachings of God. So until then, good night, all.
Good night, all.
Are you at a crossroads in your life? Or are you feeling stuck and not sure where to turn? We can help. Visit our website at psychic.biz from your computer, smartphone, or tablet, where you can get accurate readings and insight by speaking with any one of our tested advisors. We offer live chat, video sessions, one-on-one phone calls, and even email readings. We have several gifted psychics, tarot readers, astrologers, and other healers from around the world who are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your initial chat is always free, and our psychics do offer special prices and low per-minute rates. Visit us today at psychic.biz and get the guidance you need today for your tomorrow.
You're listening to the Magic Happens Radio Network, sponsored by the Magic Happens magazine. You'll find us at www.themagichappens.com.